Okay, what if I told you that the most powerful ideas in business, and even in life, aren't the most logical ones? I mean, what if our obsession with pure, cold rationality is actually the very thing holding us back from the real breakthroughs? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating challenge to all that conventional wisdom.
So, right off the bat, this quote from advertising legend Rory Sutherland is, well, it's a bit of a bombshell, isn't it? We're all taught that rational thinking is the absolute peak, the gold standard. But he's arguing it's just bronze. It's the safe bet, sure. You won't get fired for a rational decision, but it's not where the real magic happens.
So you have to ask, if rationality is only bronze, what's better? Well, according to Sutherland's hierarchy, right above the safety of rationality, you've got the silver standard, ingenuity. But the gold, the top spot, that's magic. And he argues that this magic is found in psychology, in understanding how people actually feel, not just what a spreadsheet tells you.
So, what's so wrong with being rational anyway? Let's dig into why a purely logical approach can sometimes be, believe it or not, the most expensive and least effective way to solve a problem.
Okay, here's a classic real-world problem. The train company Eurostar wanted to figure this out. How do you make the long 3-hour journey from London to Paris better? Now, the immediate logical answer seems pretty obvious, right? You just got to make the train go faster.
So, the purely rational, engineer-driven solution was to build a brand new, high-speed railway. And the cost? A completely mind-boggling £6 billion. All of that just to shave about 40 minutes off the trip. But here's where Sutherland asks a different, more magical question. Instead of obsessing over the quantity of time, the number of minutes, what if you focused on the quality of that time? What if the goal wasn't just to make the journey shorter, but to make the actual experience of being on the train better?
For just a tiny fraction of that £6 billion, you could install incredible Wi-Fi, turning travel time into productive work time. Or, as Sutherland playfully suggests, you could hire supermodels to walk up and down the aisles serving free champagne. The goal totally shifts, from efficiency to delight. You could make the journey so good people might even wish it were a little longer. Now that's psychology, not physics.
And this whole idea leads to something incredibly powerful. Changing how people see something is often way more effective than changing the thing itself. Let's look at a few examples of how just reframing a situation can create immense value, seemingly out of thin air.
Take the term horsepower. I mean, this wasn't invented in a lab by a scientist. It was a marketing stroke of genius. James Watt needed to sell his newfangled steam engines to mine owners. Now, these guys didn't understand kilowatts or thermal units, but they absolutely understood the power of a horse. By reframing his engine's power into a context they already knew, he made the incomprehensible suddenly valuable.
Or look at this brilliant move in London. These rail lines had been around for decades, but they were massively underused, mostly because people just didn't see them as part of the main subway system. The solution wasn't to build expensive new tracks. Nope. It was to just add the existing lines to the iconic tube map. And what happened? Ridership instantly quadrupled for 1% of the cost of building a new line. They changed the map, not the railroad.
And this is just fantastic. A hotel had a realization. Value is totally subjective. So instead of grading their rooms by size, standard, deluxe, suite, they started describing them by their context. A standard room by the pool becomes a pool access room, and suddenly they can charge more for it. A suite near the fitness center becomes a room near the gym. No construction, zero cost. They just created new value by changing a few words.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually find these magical, illogical ideas? Well, there's a really practical strategy, and it all revolves around harnessing the immense power of surprise.
Sutherland calls this reverse benchmarking. Now, the normal way to do things is to see what your competitors do really well and then try to copy it, right? This strategy is the complete opposite. You actively go looking for what everyone else in your industry does poorly or just ignores completely, and you decide to become absolutely world-class at that one specific thing. So when the restaurant 11 Madison Park wanted to become #1 in the world, they found a common weakness. Even the most amazing restaurants serve pretty mediocre coffee and beer. So they decided to obsess over it. They appointed dedicated sommeliers for both coffee and beer. This completely unexpected focus created a legendary experience that helped rocket them from number 50 all the way to #1 in the world. And the neuroscience behind this is just fascinating. Our brains are basically prediction machines.
They're constantly filtering out all the expected stuff to save energy. The only time we really pay attention is when something violates our expectations, when something surprises us. That's what makes these moments so powerful and so memorable.
A perfect modern example of this is the gas station chain Buc-ee's. I mean, what's the one thing that is universally terrible about every gas station? The restrooms, right? So Buc-ee's reverse benchmarked the entire industry and decided to have world-famous, pristine, amazing restrooms. They took the industry's biggest, most obvious weakness and made it their signature strength, turning a dreaded pit stop into a place people actually want to go.
Let's just zoom out for a second, because this isn't just a clever business tactic. It really points to a deeper philosophy for innovation and for life, one that requires balancing two very different ways of thinking. Sutherland has this great analogy. There's exploit thinking, which is kind of like shopping at Walmart. You have a list, you know exactly what you need, and you just want to get it as efficiently as possible. Then there's explore thinking, which is more like shopping at TJ Maxx. You go in with no specific plan, you just wander the aisles hoping to get lucky and discover something amazing. One is about optimizing what you already know, the other is about searching for what you don't.
And get this, nature actually figured this out millions of years ago. In a beehive, about 80% of the bees are exploiters. They follow the famous waggle dance to known sources of pollen. But, and this is crucial, about 20% are explorers. They completely ignore the plan and just fly off at random. These are the bees that find the new flower patches, ensuring the hive can adapt, grow, and ultimately survive.
And this really reveals a huge problem. Most modern businesses are like a beehive with no explorers. They are obsessed with exploitation, with efficiency, optimization, and predictable quarterly returns. We've become so focused on perfecting what we already know that we've left almost no room for discovering the new.
This brings us to the ultimate takeaway from all this. The most powerful lever for change isn't always a bigger budget or a faster machine. Often, the most profound and cost-effective strategy is to simply change perception. Because when you can change how people see the world, their behavior automatically follows. So, that leaves us with one final question to think about. In your work, in your life, are you only looking for that safe, rational, bronze medal solution? Or are you making time and giving yourself permission to explore and maybe, just maybe, look for a little bit of magic?